Hello everybody, and welcome to day 17 of my extreme budget challenge where I'm trying to feed 3 people on $100 a month. Now today I had pancakes for breakfast, which was left over from yesterday's video if you would like to see that. And right now I'm getting ready to make an enchilada sauce. So I wanted to tell you the ingredients before I get started. The first thing I have is 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. And I'm going to need 2 tablespoons of oil. Together, these will make what's called a roux, which is how to thicken up your sauce. In this bowl here, I have 2 tablespoons of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, and then I needed a 1/4 teaspoon of oregano. Unfortunately, I am out of that. So if you have it, use it. If you don't have the cumin, don't worry about it. It still works good. Now the chili powder, you want between 2 and 4 tablespoons. It's going to depend on how your family likes it. We do not like things very spicy, so I start with 2. Once the sauce is made, I can always add more. It's hard to take it out. Okay, so the other ingredients I need is 2 cups of chicken stock. This was reserved from week 1. If you do not have chicken stock, you could use 2 cups of water and bouillon cubes. Chicken bouillon cubes works just as well. And then I will need 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. So that's going to be our sauce ingredients. All right, as with making any roux, sometimes you use butter or lard or something like that. I'm going to start with 2 tablespoons. I have to be real careful. This pours out fast. 2 tablespoons of oil, and I'm going to warm it slightly while, if you had butter or lard, you would melt it. But I do have the heat on a medium to medium high. Okay, and I'm going to add my flour. I'm just going to mix this together until the flour incorporates and it starts to lose some of that bright white color, because you cook some of that flour flavor out of it. You don't want your sauce tasting like flour. Okay, so I'm going to cook that for just a little bit here before I start adding my other ingredients. Next thing I want to do is I want to bring out the aromatics in my spices. So I'm going to drop those in, and I'm just going to stir those around for a few seconds here. That really brings out the flavor of your spices. Kind of makes them a little stronger. And then I'm going to pour in my chicken stock. I'm going to stir this until it starts to thicken a little bit and it all starts coming together. So that's going to take a few minutes, and when I get closer to that point, I'll be right back. My sauce is starting to come together, so I'm going to add my 2 tablespoons of tomato sauce. And that's going to help it thicken just a little bit further. Let that stir in and continue to cook that until it gets to the consistency of a sauce to make something like enchiladas, which is what we're going to have for dinner tonight. Okay, so I'm going to get ready to roll my enchiladas. And I'm going to tell you a very quick story. Back in the 1980s, mid-1980s, I was a very young mom. I had no idea how to cook anything. I took a class through the County Extension Service on how best to use the items you got from WIC, which was things like rice and beans and cheese, cereal, milk, and stuff like that for your kids. Well, I started making these enchiladas. And what I would do is I would take some of the beans, which in this case this is pinto beans, and I would cook the rice like I do my taco rice. This was pretty much my ingredients. I would smash and spread the pinto beans on a tortilla. I would stuff them with the rice. Then I would top them with a sauce. I used tomato sauce and chili powder. And then I would sprinkle cheese on top. Between the rice and the beans, you got a complete protein. The cheese was your dairy and also had some protein in it. And the tomato sauce was supposed to be the vegetable. Well, they ended up publishing it in one of their books way back when that they would hand out to people. So in the meantime, I've changed it up just a little bit, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do today. So I have some of that the chicken that I cooked in the taco seasoning left over, and I did put it in some of the juice. I'm just going to empty it into this bowl. I'm going to add some of my rice. Now you could add your beans to your rice and not have to smash them up or whatever, and that works perfectly well too. So I'm just going to mix this together because I want more meat than rice in this particular dish. I have it, and I can use it this way. The nice thing about these is they're very filling, much more than you would think so, because you have that rice and, in this case, the meat and the beans and the cheese. So I used to make these when company came over, and they thought they were fantastic. And here I was using some of the things I got from Wick, because, you know, we were lucky back then if we had $30 a month for food, and that was on a really good month when maybe the heat bill or the electric bill wasn't real high. So we pretty much lived off of that Wick food, because I had 2 children 13 months apart, and Wick was our primary source of food back then. All right, so I mix that up. I just take the beans literally and squish them in the bag. You could add, you know, chili powder, onions, oil, whatever you like, make more of a refried bean. But because these are going to be spread on the enchilada, I just mash them up. I'm going to bake my enchiladas in. You can make these if you have full-size enchiladas that have like a pack of 10 or 12 of the flour tortillas in them. You can make a full-size pan. For us, even when I was younger, I would make 2 smaller ones. That way I could put one in the freezer and have it for later in the month or later in the week. So my first thing I like to do, and I normally do this in a pan, but I don't want to have to move things around too much, is I like to dip at least the one side into the sauce. It's going to make it a little bit easier to roll. And then I will take some of my, let me grab some here, my beans, like so, and spread them on my enchilada. Now remember, my brother and my nephew don't eat beans, so I'm just going to do this one for myself. Okay, spread it with however much or however little beans you like. You could do a real tiny smear. Then you simply put in your other filling. Again, you know, if you need more rice, if you need to make a bigger serving, a bigger batch, use more rice. In the case when I was young, I just used rice and beans. And then you're just going to roll them like you would your usual enchilada. Put your seam down and then stick them in your pan. I like to have mine pretty tight in the pan, so I will fill this up, and then I'll move on to the next step for you. Like I said, it's quick. Now I'm just going to take my extra sauce, and I'm going to pour it on top. I like mine pretty saucy. You can leave, you know, more or less. But the sauce is easy to make and fairly inexpensive. And I have 4 ounces of shredded cheddar. I'm just going to use what I need to on here because I want to keep some for next week. Probably, yeah, I like a lot of cheese, but I'm going to save at least half of this 8-ounce block for next week. So about 4 ounces is what I like on these. I like them nice and cheesy. And like I said, they're very filling. And people really, honestly, they will not know that you did not use ground beef in these if you just use the beans and the rice. So you could make these vegan if you want, if you used a vegan cheese on top. So anyway, there you go. They go in the oven, 350 degrees for about a half an hour, covered. Take off the cover the last 5 minutes if you want the cheese to toast a little bit, and then we'll come back and have dinner. All right, my enchiladas are done. So we're going to have some dinner, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a wonderful night.